Well, welcome to the next episode of Coffee with the County. I'm Jessica Seibert, County Administrator, and I am excited to be flipping the script on Mark Jeffers today. You have heard Mark and met Mark on previous episodes, but today we're going to be learning what economic development is from our Economic Development Coordinator, Mark Jeffers. Welcome, Mark.
Well, thank you. And this is very odd. The script is flipped.
I know. I love this. You've been doing such a good job of introducing us to our other departments. We need to learn about economic development and why counties need economic development. What do you do all day, every day?
I have to tell you what I do every day? What does
In general. Let's keep it broad.
Yeah, economic development to move forward with the county with growth and building tax base and that type of thing. We work in 6 different areas really that make up economic development and anything that goes inside those 6. We work with housing and try to improve our housing, our housing stock in the area and improve that to make sure that we have people that have places to go when they want to move here to work in. Our career development is the second one. So when we're looking for new businesses and things like that and have career development, then they have a place to stay.
I heard from our local businesses that, we can have jobs available, but if there's not a place for people to live when they get here, I know that we have found that at the county, we have actually, missed out on a great candidate that really wanted to take a job, but just as they were looking for a house, just couldn't find a place to live. So The two really are kind of really closely tied together.
They are connected for sure. And that, that is a big, people will drive, they'll drive a little ways, but they won't drive and in the world today, you can work from home, you can do different things that create more of a competitive nature in the workforce market too. So you have to be able to have all those amenities that people want if they want to move and live in your area.
Sure. And it's not just workforce housing. I mean, that's obviously important, but we have a high senior population here in Aiken County, so we also have to be thinking about our seniors and what type of housing they need, because that often looks different than that workforce housing. So you kind of deal with all of that.
Yeah, I do. And that's the exciting part, I guess, the opportunity is we need all of it. We need all the different types of housing that are available. 55 plus housing, they don't want 3-story buildings that they have to climb up and down. They'd love to have a single level, patio home type of thing. There's a lot of elderly or senior people in our area that have lived on the lake for a long time and now they're a bit older and it gets harder to maintain that property. It gets harder to do all of those things and they're tired and want to move into something that they don't have to worry about that.
Right.
So, but then that opens up that lake home possibility for a new family to move in.
Sure.
So it's all that big circle.
So I know the other piece, you're probably going to be getting to that next, but the other piece outside of, concentrating on jobs and the housing for those folks is childcare. So is that something that economic development works on too?
Very much so. Childcare is an economic development issue, or I should say the lack of childcare, because that's what we have right now throughout the state, and especially here in Aiken County, we have a shortage of childcare slots available for children. Some of the things that we've heard, we've been slowly going in the wrong direction on family childcare.
We have a lot of folks retiring.
Yeah.
I know when my kids were in childcare here, those folks are starting to want to retire themselves.
Yep, correct. And so there's opportunities for new family childcare, and that's your at-home childcare. In Aiken County, we only have one childcare center currently, and the difference between that is, one is at home, as it states, and the other is a childcare center where more slots can be available because it's a bigger building. It's, different regulations and things like that. If you have a shortage of childcare, your options as a parent might be to have one person stay home and watch the children, and that takes away from workforce.
Right.
That person can't work in our area because they're at home watching the kids, and that's a great thing. But that does affect our staffing and our career developments out there.
But how does a county help that? How does the county help encourage people to open daycares or help start new centers?
Yeah, we try to clear a path for making sure that we're creating the environment that's welcoming for new child care providers to come in. We've been lucky enough at Aiken County that we've secured some grants from the state to be able to pass on to different child care providers. We're excited about the one that we currently have. We're about to open that second child care center over in Tamarack, where we were able to utilize some state grant dollars to be able to pass on to that business and create that child care center. But it's really clearing a path. It's helping, there's so many things when it's an at-home daycare or childcare. You've got to have all the building set the right way. Your home has to have all these different regulations. You work with planning and zoning. You work with all kinds of different folks. You've got to have the outdoor playground and fenced in. And it's not just, I want to open up a daycare, so you put up a sign and it's done. Yeah. It's there's a lot to it, and the county can help clear that path and get connected with the right opportunities for it.
Sure. And I know you had just mentioned a little bit about how you didn't give yourself credit, but I will. You applied for that deed grant, and we got a good deed grant to be able to help with some of these child care initiatives. The other area that I know that you've been very active in applying for grants is in broadband. Can you talk a little bit about, I imagine when we talk about jobs and housing, broadband is right up there also.
Yep. If you're looking at, business and resident attraction, you want to take care of the residents that are here first and foremost, right? So what are the things that they need to have the good quality of life that they all expect in our area? And being connected is one of those, right? And over the years, it's improved. We started out in Aiken County as having very low broadband availability to where now we're at a point where we're like 40th out of 87 counties that have it. If you don't know, that's a pretty good number. That's pretty solid.
We started off in the 80s,
right? 81 out of 87, yep. And now we're 40th. So we've got great internet service providers that are working hard to create that connectivity out there, because when you can start to attract those work from home people, then adds to your workforce, it adds to your tax base, it gets people into their lake home, they can live up here year round, they can spend money in the different areas. So it all works in one big cycle, but we've worked very hard on trying to secure grants to be able to help our internet service providers get the job done. It's hugely expensive to run a internet line to our rural area. So the internet service providers take their business very seriously. They go through their financial and they see, here are the ones that we can afford to do. And they look, and there's those outliers that they can't afford, just simply can't afford to get to. Mm-hmm. That's where the county comes in to try to help secure grants to get that next mile out there and get everyone covered.
Well, I think having somebody like you in this seat working for the county, I know that you've built really strong relationships with that Office of Broadband at the state. They all know Aiken County.
That's good.
Yeah, but I know when you're working, what was it, a $5 million grant that you secured a couple years ago?
$5 million deed grant.
And that got broadband to an area of our county that wouldn't have gotten it otherwise.
Yeah, the famous McGrath project.
That's right. And like you said, the business model, it's hard to make broadband work as a business model for a private company, so it does take these state investments. And I know the county has strategically used some of their ARPA funds to offer a little bit of match incentives to these applications.
Yeah.
When the service providers apply for these state grants, when it has the support of the local government unit, they rise to the top a little bit more. So having those ARPA dollars set aside has been really helpful, and I think has made some of those grants more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And we went through a pandemic. Unfortunately, we all had to go through that, and we learned a lot of things through that and how we came out of that. We had a unique opportunity to use some of those federal ARPA dollars. They were funding that was given to help the economy recover, right? Mm-hmm. To help our area recover from the pandemic, and we've been using those, I think, very strategically. I think we've done a very good job, and I'm giving a plug to the commissioners,
For
right?
sure.
Because commissioners are the ones that decide where that money goes. Mm-hmm. They listen to the recommendations from staff and from the different committees, but they ultimately decide where that money goes. And I've been here for 3.5 years now, and I haven't experienced any time where the commissioners aren't excited about economic development and growing our community. Not just bringing in new businesses, making sure that the businesses that are here are taken care of, making sure that the residents are here, that live here, have everything that they want. So it's hard to say grow the community. They're not just looking to add influx of millions of people into our area. Let's be realistic.
We're not trying to be
with
a
it.
community. We're not. We are a small rural community,
Exactly.
and a lot of people, that's what attracts people to our area. We don't want to lose that identity.
Yes.
But it's about growing the tax base to reduce the burden on local taxpayers.
Yep. In reality, you have to continue to grow. You have to continue to grow and offer additional amenities for the people that live here or for the people that are attracted to come and live here. You know, if they come and understand all of the things that Aiken County stands for, then yeah, we want them to come in and have those things to be able to utilize. And, you know, our recreation it's unique. It's above any other. We have, you know, ATV trails. We have snowmobile trails. We have, you know, the most river miles on the Mississippi. We have the river trail system that's on the Mississippi, named trails for kayaking. And we have some really unique things. I didn't even mention 400 or so lakes, right?
Right.
We have all of these things that people really want to spend time with, the outdoor recreation. And we got to make sure that we have that available for the people that live here. We have to make sure that we send them that message that it's out there too.
It almost sounds like a multi-pronged approach to strategic growth, to responsible growth. We're not talking about trying to explode our area with this huge population, but it sounds like that tourism piece is maybe one tool in the toolbox, in addition to the broadband and the childcare and it all really ties together.
It does.
I think when most people hear economic development, though, I could be wrong, but I think they think about business. I mean, isn't that a huge part of what you do day in and day out, is working with our businesses? And can you maybe talk a little bit about what you do to support current businesses, how that differs from what you do to support new businesses, and kind of your focus area that we've set this year with attracting new businesses?
Attracting new business,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and you know, just to go back just for a second and talk a little bit about that economic development, and you know, when we mention growth, I think you hit it perfectly, that we're not talking about.
It can be scary sometimes to some
Yeah,
people. Like,
some
hey,
people
I like
don't
our
like
small
that word
community.
grow.
Don't mess with our community. We love it.
Leave us alone.
Yep.
Let the tourists come for a couple days and then go back. But it's about that responsible growth. I think you hit it perfectly on that. You know, just moving forward to offer additional things for our community.
You know, a lot of times when people hear economic development, they right away think about business,
Yeah.
and that really is a large part of what you do. So talk a little bit about what your conversations are, how you support our current businesses in their growth plans, perhaps, and then what you're doing right now to attract new businesses.
That's, you know, what do we do for new business? Because county government doesn't necessarily want to get into your business, so to speak, right? We don't want to be involved in that. That's not our role. But I'm here as a support tool. I'm here as, you know, and I'll just use some examples. We've had a couple of different businesses that were looking to expand. They're trying to figure out, where do I do the dollars to expand? How do I get that done? How do I find the right building to expand?
How do I write a business plan?
How do I write a
Yeah.
business plan? And those are the type of things that we come in and help support. You know, I connect them with the right people, help them write a business plan ourselves, different things like that to help our current businesses on any question that they might have. I want them to feel like they can contact us here at Economic Development, and we're going to help them find the answer. We're not going to know every answer, but we're going to help them find the answer that they're looking for. And when you build a strong community business base like that, that's a natural attraction for other businesses to say, what do they have going on up there that makes it so welcoming for our local businesses, right?
Yeah. And what I've noticed, another way that you do that is you're really tied into the local communities and the chambers. I mean, are you the chamber president this year, last year?
Last year.
Last year, yeah. So being tied in and really getting to know those business owners and know what maybe their dreams are for their business, I think that builds a sense of folks feeling comfortable, because we want people to know they can come here, they can meet with you, you're here to help. And I think by you getting out in the communities and regularly, you do regular visits with our current businesses throughout Hill City, McGregor, Palisade, right?
Yeah, it's working with the city environments. It's working with those businesses directly. And that was one of the things that really attracted me to this role, was the ability to still be able to be engaged. I worked for a private sector for 28 years with the Coca-Cola Company, and that was direct customer involvement. That was building profit for them and that type of thing. So it was very similar. The unique thing that I saw in the opportunity was to be able to continue to be engaged with those customers. It's a face-to-face job. It can't be, well, here's an email for this and an email for, you got to get in and you got to find out what's going on in those communities to understand what they need, right?
And I think honestly, coming from that private sector, having those experiences you did there, I think that really helps you in the conversations with businesses now, because you understand that world of private sector, which can be a little bit different than the world we work in now.
Appreciate that.
So
We're governmenty. I don't know if you guys
I know you love that word.
I love that word, governmenty. That's something that when you come from the private sector, government runs at a different pace, good and bad, right?
Yeah.
Good for very good reasons.
We're very deliberate in what we do.
We
take
so
the fact
smart.
We take the fact that we are using taxpayer dollars. We need to be deliberate and strategic in what we're doing.
Yes.
So that is different maybe than what you experienced in the private sector. But you do say
different,
this is
but
the fun
for a
stuff,
good
right?
thing. This is
the fun
economic
stuff.
development is the fun stuff. we get to go out and help people. I mean, it sounds really cliche, but realize their dreams, right? They want to own a business. Entrepreneurs are so cool to talk to, and hey, I've got this idea. And when you can help a person take their idea and make it come to fruition of, here's your business and your brick and mortar building and you were successful, that's huge for economic development. That's huge for the community, because it brings people here. People that have lived here, maybe kids have gone away, moved away, and I'm hearing a lot of this lately of maybe not children, but kids that have gone away and now they're in their 25, 30, 35, and they're moving back and they're starting businesses in this area, and that's huge for our community.
For sure. So as we get to the end of our time together, we're talking about businesses. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're working on right now in creating material that we can use to attract new businesses? Because this is kind of new. We've never had something like this before. Can you talk about what you're doing?
I can. What it is highlighting Aiken County on what are our demographics, what are our different financial outlook, what is it that we have for recreation. We talked about that already, and putting that all into a document itself or a piece of material that will focus on outside businesses. We can show them, here is what Aiken County is about. Here's our story. We've been talking for 3.5 years about what is our story. Your county has to have a story, whatever it is, and we have such a unique brand here with our county that we want to make sure we highlight that. When we can put that together and we can then go after strategically businesses that we think will help our community, then we have that document to be able to use and show off our community.
Yeah, I think that is so innovative, because I think every county, every city wants economic development to come their way, wants businesses to come their way, but we don't often see governments be proactive in going and looking for them and reaching out to them and having something to showcase. So the fact that that's being done, I think that's pretty innovative, and I'm excited to see what comes out of that. So, and of course, like we said, it doesn't happen overnight, but if you don't have the information to get out there, we really need to market ourselves. So speaking of marketing ourselves,
yes.
As we wrap up in the final minutes here, where can people go to learn more about the work that's being done in economic development and to see the brand of Aiken County?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. And I don't have to pay you to say naturally better. It is naturally better here in Aiken County. Our marketing story, what we decided, we went out and again engaged with our community. We went out and met with
all kinds of people,
many different people, to say, what is your story? What do you want?
What do you think of when you hear Aiken County?
Yeah. And we've created that. We didn't create the opportunities, they were already out there, right? We just found them, and we understood from the community that all of the things that we have to offer here in Aiken County and all of the things that we live with every day that people might not know about, it just became naturally better than anywhere else in our world that we
And naturally
wanna be
better
at.
doesn't mean perfect, right? We're not perfect. We're not saying
perfect.
we're perfect. We're saying we believe it is better here, and we want to show you why, and we want you to see why it's better here too. So
Absolutely,
it's like
yeah.
it's what we believe in, and also an aspiration almost.
Yep. We want it to be naturally better here, and look at it anyway if you do it correct. And because we have such good natural resources here, we want to protect that, and it's naturally better here.
Yep.
Or just
To start a business, to come here and enjoy our natural resources. So
Yeah.
much to do. So
much to do.
We have a website.
We have a website called naturallybetterhere.com.
Awesome.
And come to see that. There's so many things that we've created around this story. We have social media, Facebook, YouTube. We have Instagram. We're really cool. We have an X account. So we got all these things that are out there for, anyone to be able to get information on what's happening in our county.
And if
the
somebody wants
amenities that are
to
there.
somebody wants to regularly know what's happening, you have a regular newsletter that goes
Yep.
out. How do I get on that newsletter?
Regular newsletter. You go right onto the website and you can subscribe onto the newsletter from there. There's also, if you check out our Facebook page, it has the link every time I post something that says, hey, sign up for this and that, to try to create those users and make sure that we're getting the message out there. Our message is county-wide. It takes care of Hill City and Jacobson and McGregor and McGrath and Palisade.
We
and
are all Aiken County.
we are all Aiken County, so there's so many different unique things in each one of those areas that we highlight to make sure that people know for the good of the community.
Wonderful. Well, it has been so fun flipping the script on you today,
Yeah.
hearing about what you do. And we are so grateful you are here. We are grateful for all the work that you have done in 3 short years. It whizzed right by, and lots more to do. So stay tuned for the next episode next week with Coffee with a County.